For about 1 million years, humans were the dominant alien race in the Milky Way galaxy. This race were very unpredictable. They could be violent, peaceful, and everything in between. They run by their emotions, quick to fight with each other or with other alien races. But with all of that, they are so damn curious. About 100,000 years ago, they sent out several fully automated exploring ships. The goal is to explore what is beyond the known universe. These ships were programmed to identify habitable planets, moons, and other natural satellites, and then at the same time construct and drop artificial satellites. These artificial satellites would scan and send back real-time data of all moving objects throughout the flight plan. Then these satellites would relay the information down to the ships. And if the humans found anything interesting, they would send a message back to Earth about what they found. And so the search for extraterrestrial life began. Back to the Milky Way we go. Back to the Milky Way into a massive computer core. This core will then plan a flight plan when requested. Over centuries, this computer core would record and display where these automated ships went. Then one day the core reported that these ships stopped. It alerted the Human Galactic Council, and when they formed in the council chambers and reviewed the information, there was recording buried in the information. It took some time to dig it out and then review it. The voice was garbled and was from an unknown language. The council acted on it, and they ordered to have this language deciphered and report back to the council with the message. In the meantime, they continued to work on getting as much data as possible on why the ship stopped. Eventually, they were able to retrieve scans showing a small armada of ships blocking the explorers, and then data showed that the explorers were attacked by another set of ships, but the explorers were destined with the most state-of-the-art weapons. The explorers found a small armada of ships firing on them. So what did they do? Well, they did what any reasonable people would do. They turned their attention to those ships and destroyed all of them, then went on the attack against these ships that were firing onto them, leaving the small armada alone. As the AI determined at that point, they were not a reasonable threat. The automated explorers made quick work out of the ships that attacked them, and shortly after that is when the voice message came through. Finally, the message was deciphered and brought to the council. The message was played back, and it said, "Hello to whomever is on these ships. We mean you no harm. We are looking for species called humans." There was a momentary pause, and the voice continued with, "Thank you for destroying those ships. They were involved in the genocide of our entire species, and we are the last of humankind." The council was shocked. Another humankind far, far away. How is that possible? And of course, no one had a concrete answer. Then one council member said, "The likeliness of another human species are fairly good. Because of just the size of the universe, anything is likely." This still left the council in dismay and excitement at the same time. They continued to review information and discuss what are the next steps. One council member asked if they could send a message out to them and see if they respond to the message. The council agreed. Then one member mentioned talking with the original aliens in this galaxy to see if they have heard of another human civilization out there. And the council agreed. The council split up and began overseeing the various projects. And finally, after a few days, the council met back and reviewed their findings. One half of the council is still waiting for a response from these aliens, calling themselves humans. The other half checked with some of the oldest races in the known universe, and they did confirm, long ago, time period was unknown, of some humans splitting off and heading for the wide open space, never to be heard from again. So the council speculated and debated amongst themselves. Did they really survive for an unknown amount of time out beyond the reaches of space? They sat there pondering for a couple of days. Then a response came back, and they said that they were humans, and they were the last of their kind. They were looking for assistance, maybe some allies, and then they asked why nobody had come to greet them. The council replied back that this was an automated ship and there was nobody aboard to greet you. If we decide to greet you, it will take some time to do so, and they are waiting for a response. The council agreed that they should start planning for a fleet to leave. They needed to calculate the distance. It would take some time to do that. So the council adjourned for a week, and then they met back and they managed to calculate, and it will take 3 years to get there. Make the necessary jumps to meet them. And they also brought up they had a message back from the alien armada. The leader of the alien armada pleaded with them to send some ships out. They are desperate. They're running out of food. They're running out of hope, and their ships are falling apart out here. The council continued to talk. They decided to send another automated ship ahead of the fleet. This ship was sitting in dry dock waiting for a mission. It was designed to either be fully automated or manned. It could provide all the housing, protection, and food and water, all the essentials needed to survive. The council agreed, and they ordered Fleet Dock to prep Explorer 1. This ship has been sitting in dry dock for 5 years, and now it has a mission: rescue the stranded aliens. What do you think? Should they have sent more ships? Should they have went themselves? Let me know your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on social media. This ship is insane. It has an advanced jump drive system and has bladed armor on it, the most advanced armor ever known to exist. Plus, it has 500 quad-mount plasma cannons and also hundreds of point defense plasma guns. The flight pods are large enough to house all of their ships inside. The fleet admiral approached the council and rejected this idea. He stated that we don't know anything about this alien race, and we are giving them basically an advanced warship, something that can destroy the fleet that will be heading to them. One council member spoke up and said they have discussed this. The admiral asked, what did they come up with? And the council member said they will put in a command word and bury it deep inside the operating system. If they do attack us, they can display this command word and the ship will shut down, including most of the life support. Life support will shut down enough to put them unconscious, but will keep them alive. The admiral nodded his head and thanked the council. He then asked to be dismissed. The council granted his request, and the admiral thanked them. Then he turned around and walked out. Then one council member asked, what ships are we sending? Another council member said, 10 battleships, 2 battle carriers, 2 medical frigates, 1 troop carrier full of Marines, 3 support vessels, and 1 foundry ship. Also, there is 1,000 fighter wings, 20,000 Marines. The council member nodded his head. That's a good fleet. He said 19 ships plus the automated exploring ships that are also providing support just in case the other ships return. The council agreed. Now we just wait. A couple days later, the dry dock told the council that the ship was ready to leave. The council gave the permission to launch the ship. Dry dock acknowledged, and they powered it up, and it began moving out of the staging dock. The council began watching from the council chamber windows as the ship slowly maneuvered around the ships and out into the open space of the hangar. As the ship cleared all obstacles, one council member said it was so beautiful. It looked like a bird back on Earth flying the thermals. The other council members were awestruck with it also. No one said a thing. They just watched it leave. Once it was clear of all obstacles and safely out of the orbits of other planets, the ship jumped away. The council walked back to their seats and sent an order to Startagraphy to monitor the ship as it approaches the destination. And then they also sent an order to communications to send a message to the alien race. They have a rescue ship coming. It will be there within a year. Both departments acknowledged. Now the council had nothing else to do for the moment, so they stopped and looked out the windows in solace of what is about to happen. A couple months went by, and the council stayed in regular contact with these aliens. The new ship was getting closer. As of right now, the ship is 4 months ahead of schedule. The computer system is calculating the jump points faster than expected, and the Protheon power core is recharging faster than expected. This ship is operating flawlessly. The projected arrival time for the ship will be 6 months from leaving dry dock. One council member asked if the other ships were designed the same way. Another member said no. They had the old cores, but they were retrofitted with the new ones. And they are still going through the shakedown period, and no issues are forming. Then another council member asked if this was a wise idea, sending these ships out to unknown space with new power cores. And another council member said, "What choice do we have? We are already committed. And if we don't do this, those aliens will perish out there." After there was no more debates on it, some time went by and the fleet was ready. The council went to the space dock where the fleet was stationed. They wanted to send off the fleet. There was the typical pomp and circumstance. Music was playing. There was an honor guard formed. The council spoke and wished everyone a safe journey and mission. And they expect everyone to come back as they left, and hopefully they will have the aliens with them. The honor guard chanted their battle cry. Then they began moving on to the ramps leading to the ships. The council stayed until the last ship was loaded and its doors were secured. Then they went back to their council chambers. They had a commanding view over the space dock where the fleet was in place. It took a couple of hours for the ships to make ready. Then they requested permission to leave the space dock. Space Dock Command gave them permission. The ships begin one by one to have the mooring pylons released. Then Space Dock Command gave permission one ship at a time to start moving out of the ship berths. Once each ship cleared the space dock, they moved to a rally point and waited for the rest of the ships to meet up. Once all 19 ships cleared the space, they began moving away. And one by one they started jumping away. And as the council watched, one council member mumbled, "Godspeed. May you return safe." The council continued to look out the council chamber windows until all the ships were gone. Then they walked back to their seats, and each one began to ponder and wonder what was to become of the fleet. To happen, no one said a thing. One council member contacted Startagraphy and asked them to continue to track the fleet and keep them updated. Startagraphy acknowledged. Then a council member said, "We are in it now. What are we bringing back?" Several months went by, and Startagraphy kept track of the fleet and the automated ship as they traversed the cosmos. And every day was the same thing. All ships are operating well within parameters. They are getting close. Then one day Startagraphy announced that the automated ship had arrived at the destination. The council sat forward on their seats when this news came in. Finally, some good news. I was beginning to wonder if we were ever going to get that, and the rest of the council agreed. Once the automated ship jumped into space, the system began sending out an automated message in their language. The message started with "Bring your ships into the flight pods on each side of the ship." The captains of this refugee fleet were hesitant, but one by one they began maneuvering into the large, spacious hangar. The ships that did not have landing pads were suspended in the air by massive mechanical arms that extended out from the side of the flight pods. Then one by one, all of their engines shut down, and massive doors closed at each end of the flight pods, and the automated ship began filling this cavernous space with oxygen. Once the space was filled with oxygen, the automated ship sent a message for them to exit their ships. They were suspicious, but did what they were told to do. They cautiously opened their exterior doors and carefully walked out. They were relieved to smell fresh air again, better than the recycled stuff they were breathing for years. They began walking down the stairs to the flight pod floor. Then an automated robot appeared and approached them. All of them freaked out, as this is what caused the genocide to them. The unit reassured them that it cannot harm or in action to harm any living being. The unit asked them to follow it as it lead them into the ship. And as they stepped into the ship, they paused and just looked at the large, bright hallway. There was some type of carpeting or covering on the floor. The corridor had high ceilings and was wide. You can have 5 people standing side by side. This was amazing so far. Then the unit asked. The unit led them to continue to follow him as it walked down the corridor to a large room with multiple tables dotting around. The unit entered the room and spun around. It said, "Welcome to Sick Bay. Please let the unit scan you for any illnesses or diseases. We need to ensure that when each species meet, that you will not cross-contaminate each other and possibly create some superbug or massive disease that could wipe out both species." The captains agreed, and one by one they laid on the table and allowed the automated droids to scan and examine them. Everyone was either apprehensive or scared to allow them this close in a vulnerable position, but each automated unit treated everyone with knit gloves. Everyone went through their scans and identified treatments for their illnesses and diseases. Some of them had improperly treated broken bones, and the automated units offered to correct those also, but some of them denied the offer. There was one person that had broken fingers, and she agreed to the treatment. The unit sat her down in front of a table with a unit sitting on top of the table. Then the unit offered her to put her hand in there. She was hesitant and looked around for reassurance as the others looked upon her bravery. After a few minutes of hesitation, she finally did. Then a light appeared. It was a little hazy to look through, but she said it was warm. And one by one, you were able to see her fingers straighten out. She began to chuckle in dismay and happiness. Once the treatment was complete, she was able to begin to move her fingers again. Everyone was amazed and happy. Then the rest of the people began agreeing to the treatments. It took some time to treat everyone, but the ones that were treated left sick bay and began moving throughout the ship and taking tours of the ship. The captains and bridge crew went to the bridge to see what it looks like and how the layout of the bridge is. The engineering crews went to engineering to see how this ship is powered and what kind of fuel they use to power this craft. There was a playroom for the children, and in every space was a tutorial of that space. The humans from Earth were not hiding anything. They also wanted them to feel at ease, and to do this is to make sure they were open to them. Eventually, the uneasiness subsided, and they settled in for the long stay. And each day the computer system announced when the fleet would arrive. Then, as the days were getting closer, the apprehension began to grow. They're actually here. They're actually here. But they still went by their day-to-day process. The engineers and bridge crews continued to work on their ships. Some would say to be ready for anything that may arise. Others would say they need to do this to keep them sane, or it could be both. But the engineers took advantage of this massive space to work on their exterior of their ships. The automated ship did have a small foundry system that could replicate parts. For an example, all they would need to do is take a piece of the hull and stick it in the analyzer. Then it would read the molecular structure of the hull plate. After a few minutes, the foundry would then begin to replicate the piece, the same size and shape. Once complete, they would take the piece and stick it on the hull. Eventually, all of the ships had their outer hulls replaced. Even their 2 warships had their hulls replaced. Eventually, they ran out of work today. They were just maintaining basic ship duties, even though they are inside a hangar. But what are they going to do? Go stir crazy? But people continued to explore the ship in amazement. Finally, after several months of waiting, the automated ship announced that the fleet was arriving in 20 minutes. So the people quickly got to an exterior window. There was sweet, sweet relief, but also apprehension. Finally, the fleet arrived one by one. They were jumping into normal space, and the captains were amazed at the size of these ships. One captain said, "They look like flying planets."